And go. Question for you. If I came to you and I said, what are your thoughts on Tesla stock? Would you short it? Why is the economy in tatters but the stock market at an all-time high? What are your thoughts on the FANG stocks this year? And will we see a correction anytime soon? If you read my recent CRO The Closer article, you'll know that I consider myself super fortunate and blessed to have had a front row seat to the birth of search, the rise of social, the video revolution, and the mobile movement. In other words, I don't really have any regrets for the decisions I've made, but if I came back from a trip to Nati or, I don't know, anywhere else and told my wife after she asked me how my business trip was that I had no regrets, I'd probably be sleeping on a couch in this basement. Now, if you also read my anti-portfolio article on Context is King, you realize that I do have a little bit of kind of, in hindsight, regrets for not actually buying Google stock at the IPO, even though I was close to, or moving on Apple stock or Facebook or Tesla or, many other stocks that I considered buying and didn't until I finally got back in the saddle and started investing with Snap, which is up like quite, a few hundred percentage points. So in life, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You make decisions, some of them you're happy with, some of them you regret. And the reality is if I would have actually started to invest more aggressively when I started my career and stuck to it, which is the key, then I wouldn't be here. I'd just be another guy in a basement trading stocks. Okay, literally, figuratively. Figuratively, I wouldn't be here. Literally, I very well may be here. All to say, in today's Open to Work, the position I'm looking to hire is bringing on someone who could work with me, essentially as a researcher, as a writer, and possibly executing some of the trades. So ideally, you may be licensed with something like a CFA, although that's not really necessary because we're not actually giving any investment advice. We're just making investment decisions for myself and the fund that I'm managing, and talking about it more for entertainment, possibly a little bit of an educational, but definitely not as investment advice. Now, previously, I would have said I'm looking for a young Ash. Ash, when he was 21, 22, 23, having recently graduated from a finance business school with a finance degree and writing his heart out about these stocks that he covered the way most people follow sports teams. I had just mailed in my application to the CFA when fortune and fate had something to say, and I basically ended up navigating towards a career in media, starting in search, then online publishing, then video, and so on. So all to say, the role, what does it entail? A lot of research, a lot of writing, basically having a weekly meeting where you look at certain earnings report, you give me a heads up of who's going to be IPOing soon, if there are any reports you should be reading and summarizing for me, because I'll be honest, sometimes I make big bets on stocks without really doing any of that, following my gut instincts and the front row seat that I have. Maybe reading some message boards, following stocks on social media, etc., etc. Ultimately, I'm looking for the yin to my yang. Balance. I want you to be the brake to my crazy as usual self gas pedal. Essentially, be the Raph and Derek that work with me at WatchMojo on the production side. Be the Kevin or Christine, my partner in life and business. And maybe just eventually you would also manage some of the funds, right? That's why I guess being licensed helps. And so that's what I'm looking for now. I'm not even sure if that person exists, right? But maybe you're out there. Maybe you're looking for a new challenge. And so we got a bit of time left on the clock. Here are my answers. Tesla, yeah, from a fundamental basis, common sense basis, one could short that stock. I wouldn't, because I would never bet against somebody like Elon Musk. And at the macro level, you're going to be seeing a further revolution in consumer investing, meaning a lot more demand for stocks like Tesla. So as much as the finance analyst in Ash says you could short that stock, the entrepreneur, executive, social scientist, to quote Mike Milken, the greatest investor is a social scientist, I would not short Tesla. The economy and the stock is very simple. The stock market has never actually been a direct gauge of the economy. And in fact, what happened since COVID is basically the government said, mom and pop stores, we could have those be closed because they just don't have enough supply to, be deemed as essential. But the big box stores, well, we got to keep those open. And it just so happens that those big box stores are the publicly traded companies. FANGs, I think it's about time we differentiate the FANGs and break them up into a subset of different subgroups. We could address that at another time. And in terms of whether or not we're due for a correction, we'll be honest with you, there's always a correction because it's the law of averages. But I would say 2021, probably not. 2022, most likely. But that's why if you have a long-term horizon, ergo being long-term greedy, I still think the stock market is the place to be. But don't listen to anything that I have to say. And if you are the person, my time is up. Email us at open@watchmojo.com.